Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
Well, thanks for joining us for another edition of Donnybrook. Great to have you with us. And on Donnybrook Up Next, the second half of this hour, we're going to talk to Dr. Alex Garza from the St. Louis Metropolitan Pandemic Task Force as cases and hospitalizations skyrocket in the bi-state area. Thanks for joining us. Let's meet the panelists, starting with the news director for the Big 550 KTRS, Wendy Wiese, along with a columnist from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, Bill McClellan. He writes for rawstory.com as well as the Riverfront Times, which he founded in 1977, and he hosts talk radio on KTRS, Ray Hartmann. And from the St. Louis American, 590 AM and 97.1 FM News Talk, Mr. Alvin Reid. Well, Ray Hartmann, we're starting with you this evening. Hope you had a great week. It was an interesting one because Joe Biden was declared by most sources as the winner of the election on Saturday. And then on Sunday, our senior senator from the state of Missouri, Roy Blunt, said it's time for a recount and make sure that we can count all the votes. You agree with that? If there's a dispute on the election, the place to go is the courtroom, right?
Joe Biden won the election. I mean, in any other normal time, I mean, it wasn't even close. It's an electoral landslide, and he won the election. I mean, all the charade is just that. I feel it's really kind of a sad commentary. Roy Blunt initially made the point that how weird it was that Donald Trump was saying count the votes when he was losing at the very moment he said you can't count a single vote after election day when he was ahead. And Blunt observed that, and I'm guessing his email and phone exploded because by the Sunday morning talk shows, he was now saying, well, this isn't decided. Joe Biden won the election, okay? And everybody understands it. And everybody in the Republican Party is understandably afraid of the wrath of the 70 million folks who voted for Trump, and more important, the 88 million followers that Donald Trump has on Twitter, because they come with him when he leaves, whether he's walked out of the White House or leaves voluntarily. That's what's driving the fear that Republicans have. And they're also worried about the Senate races in Georgia. So it's a sad state of affairs, really. But Joe Biden won. It's simple as that.
And you just answered your own question, right? He's doing what politicians do. He's playing politics, and in very uncertain times, he's fighting for his own survival.
Yeah, I didn't say you can have to blame him.
I'm with Wendy. I mean, Ray, if you were advising Roy Blunt right now or any Republican, you'd probably tell him you got to stay ahead of the mile.
I would. I said it's a sad commentary. I said it's a sad commentary.
I know something, right? What was interesting, in 2000, in the early days of the Florida dispute, and of course, that dispute was only separated by 500 plus votes, not many at all. Dick Cheney called John Danforth, former U.S. Senator from Missouri, and asked him to lead the charge for a recount and all that. And Danforth actually told Cheney that he didn't believe that George W. Bush should challenge the Florida vote, according to historians. And turns out he was wrong. George Bush challenged it, and he was right. Hey, these are the courts. That's what they're for. The resolution of differences. It's only November the 12th. It's not like it's February the 15th, and we're still belaboring this.
I guess you think it's okay that he's not even giving Joe Biden the intelligence briefings and stuff. I mean, listen, I don't want to make
I agree with you on that. And I agree that Melania should meet with Jill, too.
The election is over.
Okay.
We've never had this with any president before where the party that lost was afraid of the wrath of the guy that lost.
Just one thing. Once again, my buddy from Glendale, Eric Schmidt, standing there with the Louisiana governor saying that the election was fixed and all that. It's beyond embarrassing. And I realize that if he's got his future wants to be governor or something like that, he's got to play this game, but it's disgraceful. And I just, it's just horrible.
But you know what?
He's proof positive that politics change people, because he's not the guy I used to know, and I'll just leave it at that.
And Charlie,
they're not the only ones, guys.
On this pig, Charlie. This isn't about one state and 537 votes. It's
I agree.
70 votes.
Joe Biden's going to be the president.
Landslide.
Bill,
could I go local for just a minute? And go to Alvin's point on Eric Schmidt. I mean, at some point you have to be realistic, don't you? I mean, Eric Schmidt is running against Jay Ashcroft in 4 years for governor. And he's got to stay ahead of the mob right now and support Donald Trump. I don't know how you can think that somebody's got to fall on their sword right now.
And sometimes people bring silly cases. Case in point, the circuit attorney herself, Kim Gardner, went to court alleging civil rights violations. And as we all know, 5 weeks ago, a federal judge threw it out and he said, it's a great case except for one thing, Ms. Gardner. You don't have a shred of evidence. This is what people do. They file lawsuits, and many of them are ridiculous, Ray.
Not in presidential elections. And I agree with Bill not to go national, but let's remember that there was no mob until this president. There was no mob with Reagan or Bush or Clinton or.
Well, we're not arguing there was, Ray. We're just saying the politicians now, like an Eric Schmidt,
Great points.
They're dealing in what it is today.
And okay, let's move on. In the interest of time, we'll stick with you, Bill McClellan. I know you're a Cubs fan, but nonetheless, you have to admit, Tony La Russa, who was pulled over by the cops in February for DUI, he registered, a .09, and I believe it's a .08 or higher where you're considered legally drunk. Well, isn't it weird that the charges didn't come out until November? And while we're at it, isn't this Hall of Famer innocent until proven guilty?
Well, it depends on how you look at a blood test. Arizona is very, very hard on DUIs. One of my heroes, Mark Grace, former Cub and then a Diamondback, got the winning hit in the Diamondbacks World Series comeback in Game 7. Gracie got busted, and then they put one of those machines on his car, that you have to blow before the car can start, and every few minutes, it beeps and you have to blow again.
I wouldn't know.
Oh, well, I have friends who know. And Gracie took it off and got busted again, and they put him in jail. I mean, Arizona, for just a couple of days, but Arizona doesn't mess around. And, it's odd to see, this is in Tony La Russa's MO, the whole, hey, I'm a Hall of Famer type thing. You know who I am? But it's still odd to see a guy like La Russa. It just shows you the new world we live in. I mean, there was a day when the cops would have said, oh, Mr. La Russa, coach, and let him go.
Well, he was also rude to the police officer. They said he was argumentative, which I could definitely believe. And I think that led to part of his problem. But the whole thing where, the White Sox knew all this happened and still hired him. And, but I can't be mad at them because Cardinal fans in Jupiter, Florida gave Tony La Russa a standing ovation the next day after he got busted. And he pled guilty to that. So this is 2 times straight out, and it's, and the reason that it took so long was 1, it was filed in the wrong jurisdiction. Now, I don't know what that was about. But 2, it came out. And Tony should be fired. They should let Tony go, just like A.J. Hinch got let go. Alex Cora came to reasonable agreement. Carlos Beltran, they were stealing signs. They weren't endangering people's lives driving drunk down the road. If he's allowed to keep this job, just Major League Baseball, just go away. Just go away. Tony could be a real man and resign, but we know that ain't gonna happen.
The White Sox this afternoon were sounding a little less certain than they did immediately after the news broke. We're going to wait to see how this plays out in the courts. I thought it seemed a little lukewarm But it does sort of bring into sharper focus this question that we do find ourselves asking whenever this happens, is when somebody of means, I mean, Uber, a cab, a car, it's very hard. It's very hard to understand.
I got to tell you, first of all, I'm with Alvin and having zero sympathy for Tony Russo. I could care less. I'm keeping my policy about not calling people resign or fire. I could care less about Tony Russo. I will say this. We've talked a lot in this community and across the nation about crime. And you look at the numbers of the hundreds of thousands of lives that are destroyed every year by the crime of DWI. And I got to tell you, we got to stop saying, well, and I know what Bill's saying about how it used to be. I'm glad it isn't like it used to be. This is a serious, violent crime, okay, very often, and a crime all the time, and often with tragic consequences that leave people disabled or dead. And I got to tell you, it's not okay. And
I'm not saying it's okay.
I didn't say you were.
But I am saying that if you talk to ER doctors, the terrible crashes where, a guy gets on Highway 40 going the wrong way, those aren't guys blowing 0.075 or 0.09. You get on the highway going the wrong way, you're one of those guys at 2.2 or 1.8. I mean, it's just one size fits all. If a guy goes out,
all right, but what about being disrespectful, argumentative with a police officer?
Right.
I'm a Hall of Famer. I'm a Hall of Famer baseball person, bro. I thought we were supposed to be standing up for the blue and everything. Every problem that somebody has with the police department, you hate the police. You hate the police. Does Tony La Russa hate for the police? The same guy said Colin Kaepernick shouldn't be kneeling and he would never be on his team because that's disrespectful to America and the police department and all that. See, this phony baloney stuff, that's what I'm got a problem with.
Alvin, you could also add that if Tony La Russa was black, he'd probably be dead. But the fact is that I mean, really, it's like he's a repeat offender.
Who needs the courts when you have this jury? Now, let's move on to you, Wendy Wiese, closer to home, perhaps. Reid, the president of the Board of Aldermen, has said that he might run for mayor. It would be his third shot. He did not succeed 4 years ago. But, Lyda Krewson is up for re-election already. The city's treasurer, Tashara Jones, member of the Board of Aldermen, Kara Spencer, and a local bar owner, Dana Kelly, have already thrown their hats in the ring. How do things change if President Reid enters the race?
I was sort of thinking that Tashara, upon hearing the news, Tashara Jones probably started to, twitch a little bit. But he was Mr. Congeniality. He came in third last time around. And now, thanks to Prop D, I don't think that any of the candidates have I certainly don't think the top couple of candidates have anything to worry about. I think that it will probably muddy the waters just a little bit to have 5 or 6 candidates, but Prop D guarantees this time that things will be different.
And I think it's great. First of all, what's really interesting is for those of us in the media, I think it's fun because nobody can quite figure out how the approval voting where you just pick, nobody can figure it out, it makes it interesting. It makes the first election is on, I think, March 2nd. Which now is the big run, the big, what they call jungle primary, whatever you call it, where everybody's in it. And then April 6th, I think it is, for the first time in our lifetimes, the general election in the city of St. Louis matters. It's no longer the coronation of the Democrat. So think about it. There's going to be 5 weeks between March 2nd and April 6th where 2 people actually have to run against each other. And you know what? I don't think it's great news. I mean, a big news story that Lewis is running. I kind of assumed he would all along.
Lewis Reid is running. Lewis Reid is running for mayor because somebody asked him to / told him to. This is just a plan. Anything to stop Tashara Jones from being the mayor of the city of St. Louis. And I don't understand it. And I definitely don't understand why black people play along with this game. I mean, I'm going to be mad. How can I be mad at Eric Schmidt, okay, because I think he should be above the politics, all right? But I'm doubly as upset with Louis Reid and the rest of these folks because this is just getting fronted off, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves.
Okay, now while we have you, Al, I want to ask you about.
Can I quickly say on this note, the Post-Dispatch 4 years ago endorsed Antonio French, and now he's not in the race, but he's been hired by the editorial board of the Post-Dispatch, and congratulations to Antonio.
Yeah, right. And he'll be the one writing the anti-Tashara Jones editorials to give Todd Roberson cover. Oh, well, we had a black person. It just so happens that he hates Tashara Jones. You know, like, give me a break. St. Louis is just a trip.
I thought that statement, I know it, well, I just thought that was like that statement was like an SNL skit of a guilty white person talking.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you something for folks who are a little unfamiliar. Antonio French, former member of the St. Louis Board of Aldermen, former mayoral candidate, and he was one of the most prominent activists in Ferguson back in 2014. He's got about 170,000 Twitter followers. And he also is a local publisher of a couple of magazines. Well, he was hired this week by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch editorial board to join Todd Roberson and Kevin McDermott and Gilbert Bayonne and become the first African-American writer on that paper, on that editorial board at this time. There wasn't one.
There have been in the past, it was, Charlie.
Yeah, right. But what's interesting is that Roberson, in his statement, did say, now we're going to walk the walk and not just talk the talk when it comes to diversity. But he also said that he and French agree on most of the issues. So how much diversity is there if the two of them are like-minded?
Exactly. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
Well,
by the way, I don't know this for sure, but it is my understanding, and I could be wrong, but it is explained to me, he still is going to be publisher of his two online publications.
Well.
I mean, that's like me being on the editorial board of the Post-Dispatch when I was like the city editor of the St. Louis American. Now that's ridiculous with a capital R.
If I have any,
you don't have enough money, Alvin, and you can't pay him enough. I don't.
I think first of all, it's nice that the Post-Dispatch discovered this principle, but if I have expertise on anything, it's on the meaninglessness of newspaper endorsements. Okay, having done a few. Right. And I got to tell you, I mean, ask Treasurer Jeffrey Boyd how important they are. I mean, come on. I think Antonio French, I have nothing but respect for the guy. I'm not talking about him. But come on, give me a break.
Well, I'll tell you what, they endorsed Rodney Davis, the Republican in Illinois, and he won.
That's
right. Alvin, Reid, I want to ask you about news out of Springfield. Turns out this year that tax revenues from the sale of medical and recreational marijuana already totaling $100 million. But before you celebrate with whatever you celebrate with, Alvin, don't you have to admit that it's just a drop in the bucket because Governor Pritzker also announced that his state, the land of Lincoln, is operating at an almost $4 billion deficit in 2020. So, okay, $100 million, but it sure isn't going to save Illinois taxpayers.
But what it's going to do is save them more than it's $100 million after 10 months. It's going to save them $100 million. Who's turning away money when you desperately need money? And oh, by the way, 35 states have now legalized marijuana, either medicinal or recreational. 15 recreational. They're reaping the money in. The money's just coming in. So I don't want to hear we're broke and there's nothing we can do about it. Oh, by the way, isn't the governor talking about $1.8 billion to fight the coronavirus, and Missouri doesn't have $1.8? Where is the money going to come from? So don't eschew any money. Oh, by the way, you can also place a legal bet in Illinois right now. I didn't get over there this week, but I'm going to do my first one this week. I'm glad I didn't get there because I was going to take Kansas and 37.5 against Oklahoma. They got beat by 58 points. So I'm an idiot, but I didn't make that bet. But
Governor Parson, the money that he was talking about, is that what you're referring to, Alvin? Those are federal CARES Act dollars. Is that what you were?
That's where the 1.8 is coming from? Okay, then bring it on then.
I think
and a cannabis industry expert actually said, Alvin, you're right, that Illinois is just scratching the surface at this point, and that they are looking at $500 million once they hit their stride.
Because they're going to open a bunch more dispensaries. That's coming in the next 6 months. You're right, Wendy.
Keep in mind that the people of Illinois are going to be a lot less stressed out about their debt.
Wendy Wiese, I want to ask you about comments that were made by Congresswoman-elect Cori Bush on MSNBC this week. She was on the Joy Reid program, and she was asked once again, what are you talking about defunding the police? And she did not back down at all. In fact, she came on stronger, and she said, defend your butt. She said, among other things, she wants to take money.
Defend or defund? You just said defend. Okay,
no,
so defund.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I want to make sure what we're doing with our posteriors. Are we defunding them or are we defending them?
Scorekeepers will mark it E1. E1, okay? Here's the deal. She said defund the police, and she wants to send that money to social services, mental health, and more. But last week, Alvin pointed out that comments like that might actually be the things that are enabling Republicans who are winning seats in state legislatures and elsewhere. What do you think?
Well, I think it's interesting that what she was actually doing when she said defund your posterior, she was retweeting, if you will, Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia. He was the one who said it. He's the one that said, defund the police, defund my posterior, because he has, as a moderate Democrat in West Virginia, of all places, he has absolutely no interest in being part of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or Cori Bush's squad. And so that's where all of this started. And so they basically, it seems to me that Cori Bush is not only speaking to her base in the same way that Donald Trump speaks to his base. But she was repeating a statement made by her Democratic colleague in West Virginia.
I'll take St. Louis politicians for 100, Charlie, and I'm either going to get a job with the Biden administration, I'm either going to retire from politics, or I'm either going to run again in 2 years against Cori Bush, and the answer is, who is Lacey Clay? And Lacey Clay is hearing this nonsense and is probably thinking to himself, oh my gosh, she's opening the door for me to run again, and I will beat her 2 years from now. So she better stand down on that, or she's going to be out of there in less than 800 days.
Now, Alvin, what about somebody besides Lacey Clay, someone like a Wesley Bell? I always thought that, as a prosecutor, he has a certain strength. He's not a Marxist like the McCloskeys called Cori Bush. I mean, what about somebody like Wesley Bell? I mean, if Cori Bush turned out to be kind of just silly out there.
Mm-hmm. I think Bill's got a point.
Yeah, no, that could be a reality. I mean, I understand that. But if I'm trying to decide what to do right now and I'm Lacey Clay, I might be thinking that my best op to get back to Washington, D.C. is not part of Biden administration, but just winning my old seat back.
I could be wrong about this, Alvin, but I at this point take Lacey. I've had him on the air a couple of times, and he's been pretty definitive that he's done running for public office. And people change their minds about that, but I got the sense that he was. And I to Bill's point, there will be plenty of moderate lane folks, such that might want to take Cori Bush on, and she's got right to. Let's just see how it plays out. This could be a very interesting next 2 years, that's for sure.
Ray, while I have you here, I want to ask you about one of the most bizarre stories we've seen in a long time. And this was Chris Nagus at Channel 4 story, taking a look at a private investigator who has admitted that he put GPS devices on the vehicles of Sarah Steelman, who heads up the procurement division inside the State House, as well as Drew Erdman, the chief operating officer for the State House. And this private eye said that he was tracking these state officials at the behest of some company that provides like military services to the civilian and government populations. So what do you think's going on here, that some private eye is tracking state officials?
The paper, what I read online, seemed to reference a gentleman named Eric Greitens, who had not only hired both these people, but apparently is somehow promoted on the website of the company that's on behalf of who knows who, tracking these people. It's creepy, but let me just say, if it looks like Eric Greitens and it sounds like Eric Greitens, and it quacks like Eric Greitens, I wouldn't want to say that it's Eric Greitens. I have no idea, man. I'll tell you, it's just kind of a creepy story.
This, with all going on in the state of Missouri and everything, my biggest fear is that, and I really sincerely believe this, that Missouri is on track to elect somebody to statewide office that's like dangerous, that is Proud Boyish and all that. But second to that was, man, if Eric Greitens is involved in this, it's just like
I'm always reminded of that phone, that surreptitiously taped phone conversation that we all heard. Anytime, it's almost like Pavlovian. Anytime I hear the name Eric Greitens, my mind immediately goes there.
And John Brunner, right?
Yeah.
John Brunner.
By the way, if you follow him on Facebook at all or see his stuff, he is very conservative, much more than people realized.
Is that right?
Yeah, very conservative.
Who's conservative?
John Brunner.
Well, of course
Brunner,
he is.
former gubernatorial candidate. And well, I wonder how his old firm is doing. Germex should have had a good year, that's for sure. A blast from the past. John Brunner, who ran for governor. And he was on that phone conversation with the now famous phone conversation with Eric Greitens.
Grown up in that phone conversation.
Hey, that's all the time we have for this half. But when we come back, we're going to talk to Dr. Alex Garza, who chairs the St. Louis Metropolitan Pandemic Task Force at the time when hospitalizations and cases are skyrocketing in Illinois and Missouri. So our questions for Dr. Garza next, right here on Donnybrook. We call it Donnybrook Up Next.
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
Thanks again for joining us. This is Donnybrook Next Up, and we are so proud and pleased to welcome back to our program Dr. Alex Garza, who's heading up the St. Louis Metropolitan Pandemic Task Force. What a job he's had in 2020. What a job he's done in 2020. Dr. Garza, thank you very much for taking time to join us on the 9 Network.
Sure. Pleasure to be here, Charlie. Thank you.
Let's quickly look at the numbers. They are not good.
Right. They are not good. So we had 109 admissions today across all of our task force hospitals. So that's BJC, Mercy, SSM, and St. Luke's. It is our third day in a row where we've had over 100 admissions. Where our census is around 680 right now total of COVID patients. The concerning thing about that number is we were at 600 3 days ago. And so we've increased the volume by 20% over 3 days. And so if we continue on this pace, you can do the math. We will quickly have many more patients than we can take care of.
Well, we asked our viewers to submit questions through Twitter, and if I could read one for you. STL 7th Ward wonders, small counties in rural Missouri are saying their virus spread is coming from sporting events and small gatherings of family and friends, not restaurants. What's the data in St. Louis City on where the virus spread is coming from?
Yeah, so I can only tell you what I hear from our public health directors. So we don't have access to the case data or the contact tracing data. But from what I'm hearing, most of the spread is occurring in sort of those small group environments. And so it's people having either people over to their house or a small gathering, things like that. There still is some spread at restaurants and places like that, but that isn't really what's driving the transmission now. It really does seem to be those small group gatherings or even sort of moderate group gatherings.
Alvin?
So obviously you're dealing with us here, but we're surrounded by, Jefferson County and St. Charles County, and their attitude toward this is a little bit different than ours. And then throughout the state. And do you honestly think that what the information you're getting from those counties and then from out in the state is truthful? Is it worse, outstate than we are being led to believe? We know it's bad already, but because being in St. Louis County, I feel like, man, these folks are bringing it with them to us more than we're taking it to them. Factually, is that true, or do you just have a hunch that that's true?
Yeah, so if you look at the data, the cities are actually performing better when it comes to cases. Like we have a lower case per capita. So we stratify it by 100,000 people. That's how you normally do epidemiological data. And so if you look at that, the rural areas of the state are doing much worse than the urban areas of the state. Now, the urban areas, when I say the urban areas, I include St. Louis City, St. Louis County, but also on the western side, Kansas City. Those numbers, St. Louis City actually has one of the lowest case rates in the state. A lot of those case rates are much higher in the more rural areas, and you reference St. Charles and Jefferson County. So yeah, their rates are higher than in the city and the county. And we think that's for a couple of reasons. One, of course, is the mandatory masking mandate that's within the city and the county. We know that has dropped the cases significantly in the city and the county after it was instituted. And it's also created a lower rise in the cases. So we are seeing a rise in cases now, there's no doubt about it. But it has blunted that rise. It's a much more shallow curve than the other counties that don't have a mask mandate.
Bill?
Doctor, I remember a T-shirt before all this began that said every horror movie starts with somebody not believing a scientist. And we've done that, and no one believed this would be so bad. But even today, I was walking in Forest Park. Hardly anybody was wearing a mask. Admittedly, that's outside. But book clubs go on, and people just don't seem to think this is a horror movie. I mean, what are we doing wrong? Is it a horror movie?
Yes, it is a horror movie, and it's about to become a double feature horror movie with the number of cases and hospitalizations that we're seeing. So I think you are right, Bill, that we're having, I think, a harder and harder time getting the message across that all of these things are important. So wearing a mask, socially distancing, not gathering in groups. I don't know if it's fatigue from the pandemic lasting so long. I think some of it is, we had that spike in the spring, it came down, and then we had that sort of that period where we didn't have as many cases and hospitalizations. And so I think that lulled some people into a false sense of security, like, hey, this virus is going away, or maybe it's not so bad. But now we're right back to, actually, we're worse than where we were before. But trying to convince people that, in order for the mitigation strategies to work, it really has to involve everybody. It can't just be the select few that believe in the science. It really has to be everybody, or else the virus is just going to continue to spread.
Wendy?
Dr. Garza, two quick sort of mini questions. I have never heard, there seems to be some disagreement or somewhere about whether or not, are we still in the first wave or have we begun the second wave yet? And then when we see the Metropolitan Pandemic Task Force releases and they say that ICUs are now at 28% or 32% around the state, what does that mean exactly? I think there's a great deal of interest in so much of the literature and the numbers that you're sharing with people, then they don't really understand.
Sure. Yeah. So to your first question about, second wave, third wave, whatever, way we want to put on it. If you think about the way that the epi curve has been going within the St. Louis metropolitan area, so we had our first sort of big wave in the spring, and then that came down, and then we had sort of this low level period going on, and then we had, if you remember, we had that spike in July, so the cases came up in July. We didn't see much more hospitalizations then, but then we came down, sort of treaded water, and then we really took off. So, I try to tell people, like, don't get so wrapped up into like what wave this is. I guess if I had to, call it, I would say it's a continuation of a second wave that occurred in July. It's just, now it's just taken off. But, I guess I don't pay that much attention to it. So to your other question though about bed capacity. So there's a lot of, I think, confusion surrounding bed capacity. And part of it is the way that data is collected. So the way that the data previously have been collected for the state was based off of what are called licensed beds. And so, for instance, when we have a hospital, we have a license that says we can have, and I'm just making this up, 100 beds in the hospital. However, if I only have staff to staff 10 of those beds, then realistically, I only have 10 beds. And so what we operate off of is staffed beds, not total beds, for that very reason. So if you look at those two numbers, you can come up with different percentages. So when we're talking about our ICU capacity and our total bed capacity, we're talking about the number of patients that are in beds, in staffed beds. So for instance, I looked at our numbers today. Our ICUs were 97% full. So I had like 3 ICU beds for the entire metropolitan area. Now there's going to be discharges throughout the day, and there'll be people admitted throughout the day. So that is just the snapshot of when I said, what area am I right now? And that occurs throughout the day. But I will tell you, we are consistently now in those 90+% numbers across the board. So I have not seen it dip below 90 for about the past week. And this is across all of our major medical systems. So what that does is it creates very little wiggle room. So we have a hard time accepting transfers from outside of the metropolitan area. We have a hard time moving patients from the emergency department or from other floors up to intensive care. It creates a whole, and not to mention, it burns out our staff. So when they are operating at, it's just like your car. If you're going to run your car in the red zone, eventually your engine is going to give out. And that's what our healthcare workers are facing right now, is a lot of burnout, because we're asking them to operate in the red, and they just can't sustain it.
Right.
Well, you answered the question I was getting ready to ask you about hospitalizations, because it occurs to me that we're all numbed. I mean, the national number went from 100,000 to 150,000 this week, and everybody's like, what are you going to do? On the point of hospitalization, to what you just said about transfers, we had Spring Schmidt on our show, the radio show this week, and the co-director of the County Department of Public Health. And I got the sense from her that we're pretty much at the point where our hospitals can't accept patients from the overflowing rural hospitals. Is that accurate pretty much? Are we almost there?
Right.
And the question is, what happens to the rural hospitals then? I mean, if they're completely maxed out, which we've been hearing for months, I mean, this seems like it's going to start sinking in at some point when you're talking about people not being able to go to a hospital than when you're just talking numbers. Am I right about that?
Yeah, you are right. And so we have experienced times where we just do not have the capacity to accept transfers coming in from rural facilities, or even from our suburban facilities. There are times where the ICUs are completely full. I have heard stories from some of my partners around the state where, and this isn't just in St. Louis, this is throughout the state, it's really throughout the Midwest. I was talking with some physicians in Kansas City that said they were getting requests for ICU beds all the way in Colorado because there are no beds to be found in the Midwest. So you're absolutely right, Ray, that we are challenged every day to have enough capacity to take care of the patients in the St. Louis metropolitan area, but also to be able to pull those patients in from the rural area. And so typically what happens is I'm an emergency physician, and I clearly recall taking care of patients for days at a time in the ER, even though they really belonged in the intensive care unit. And that's not optimal. We can do it, yes, but that's not really where they need to be. It puts a lot of pressure on the emergency department. It puts a lot of pressure on the nursing services. But that's what happens is people stack up in the emergency departments waiting for a bed to open up, and then that's when you can do the transfer.
Let me ask you a little something about the contact tracing, which is also an important element of mitigation strategies for COVID-19. A Post-Dispatch report earlier in the week pointed out that it appears there are too many cases and not enough contact tracers. Also, it's alleged that a lot of individuals won't cooperate in contact tracing. They don't answer the phone, they don't follow up with the phone calls. And then there are some people who wonder if we're getting the test back quick enough, so that if somebody takes a test on Monday, do they wait till Friday to get the results? And if so, boy, all the people they've been in contact with are floating around and spreading the coronavirus. Do you see this as a real issue for our area?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely an issue. So in regards to the testing first, Charlie, so I will say that, if somebody is concerned enough to need to go get a test, then they should presume that they're positive until they get a negative test result. And so once you get the test done, you quarantine yourself until you get the test back. Now, we haven't heard as many issues with getting the test results back in a timely manner like we had earlier in the spring when we didn't really have testing supplies. So that seems to have caught up. But nonetheless, the point being, if you're getting a test, wait until you get the test result back before you go out and mingle with other people. As far as contact tracing goes, you're absolutely right. And so if you think way back into your chemistry lesson with kinetic law, we have surpassed all of the receptors that we can use with contact tracing. So now all of that is saturated. Everything else is just spilling over. So that means there are cases now where they get a positive result that the health department can't get to because it's all just a simple numbers game. If we have 900 cases, which is what we had today in St. Louis County, and you have 100 contact tracers, the math just doesn't work out. And then you pile on another 900 the next day and another 900 the next day. So, in essence, we have to ask the public now to be sort of their own contact tracers and to take responsibility for themselves. And that's not because public health failed. They're just overwhelmed right now. But I think that gets back to Bill's point, where there has to be responsibility with the community as well. So whether that is wearing a mask, social distancing, all of that stuff, but also if you do test positive, then it's your responsibility as a member of the community to help not spread it further. I think everybody knows you need a quarantine. You can contact all of the people that you've been around and tell them that they need to be in isolation or to get tested, things like that. But really, this is going to have to be an all hands on deck thing. We can't rely on public health to ride to the rescue. As hard as they work, they're outnumbered right now.
Alvin?
The University of Missouri's football team won't be playing yet again this weekend. Right in this area, several teams, including where I live, Kirkwood, had to forfeit a game a couple of weeks ago, and end of the season and the playoffs are all a muck. This is football, okay, which is played outdoors and they don't have any fans. Would your advice be to just forego basketball season and just or wait until the spring maybe? Or because it just seems like, to me, it seems like it's going to be worse if you're trying to play an indoor game and be that close and really like banging and up against each other and all that for months at a time, and different teams playing different teams. Just where are you at on sports, especially high school sports right now?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be really challenging to play a high contact indoor sport and not have some significant transmission. Now, certainly, people move around a lot, and so it's not like they aren't sitting still, breathing on each other all the time. you mentioned football with a lot of cases and a lot of games that had to be canceled because teams were testing positive. A lot of that, though, it's difficult to trace it right back to like, hey, it was this kid tackling this kid, right? A lot of it is around kids coming together outside of the game, whether that is, hey, let's go lift some weights, or let's just, go do something to hang out together. And that's usually where the issues arise. So it isn't necessarily just the sport. It is all of sort of that social atmosphere that's around the sport. But then you compound it, like you said, with winter sports because you're coming indoors. So it's in a closed space. It's a close contact. And then you layer that on top, and that just even makes it even more challenging. So I think at some point you have to do the calculation, like, is it worth, having to stop, isolate, quarantine just to get in a couple of games? And I can't tell you when that balance tips one way or the other. I think it's going to be really challenging to pull off any sort of season, especially in the environment we're in right now, where there's just everywhere around you is probably somebody that is harboring the virus.
Bill?
One of our viewers, Virginia Kramer, sent in, I thought, a really thoughtful question. She said, so much is made of the positivity rate. And yet when people go in to get tested, they're generally going in to get tested because they feel they may have been exposed, or they feel they may be sick. And maybe early on, people were more paranoid and going in and get tested. So how come the positivity rate seems to be considered so important as like shutting stuff down?
Yeah. So a good question. So when we look at the positivity rate, at least when I look at it, so we can sub-segment out which tests are done for what reason. So, for instance, we test a lot of people for before they go to surgery because it's a high-risk procedure with a tube in your throat, air coming out, things like that. Or we test people that are employees, or we test people that have other reasons for getting tested. But one of the categories that I look at quite a bit is what's called the diagnostic testing. So those are people that came in with symptoms consistent with COVID, and I look at how many of them turned positive. So there's a couple of different numbers. One is that diagnostic number, and we're up to around 30% right now for that diagnostic number. And that allows me to compare apples to apples, because that then compares me to where we were in the spring. In the spring, we were around 20%, so we're worse than we were in the spring. If you take all the tests then and average them out, our numbers are still going up. So we're still seeing more numbers turn positive in like the pre-surgical, more numbers turn positive for, what you described, sort of getting tested because they were in close contact, things like that. And so it serves as sort of a barometer for how much virus is being transmitted in the population. You have to be careful with it, though, because it is, you have to have a context with how much testing am I doing, who am I testing, and then what is the environment around me. Obviously, if we have higher prevalence of disease in the population, you're going to have a higher positivity rate. That's just the way it works. So I don't focus as much strictly on the number, but what is going on around and what can this number inform me about?
Thank you.
Wendy?
One of the biggest stories of the week was word from Pfizer in Chesterfield about a potential two-pronged vaccine. And when I say two-pronged, it's because there's two different shots. Once you do a little digging in the weeds, you find that maybe the long-term side effects are not going to, we're not going to know as much about those long-term side effects. And I wonder if, those of you on the Metropolitan Pandemic Task Force, how optimistic are you at this point about the willingness of people to take this type of vaccine?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and it's one that we talk about quite a bit. So, what is going to be the uptake? That's what we call it, of the vaccine. You are right. We don't have a lot of history with it, right? So the only history that we have is with the phase 1, 2, and 3 trials, and those are time limited. If you think about how quickly this vaccine was developed, like we didn't have COVID in January, right? And so 11 months for a completely novel virus to go from, first infection to vaccine, the name warp speed, is completely appropriate. It would take years to develop this vaccine during normal times. This is a very different vaccine as well. It's what's called an mRNA vaccine. And so it's actually a vaccine that contains proteins of the virus, not the virus itself. So nobody has ever developed a vaccine using that type of technology either. And then you're right about the 2-shot series, which is layering on even more complexity to it. We have a hard enough time getting people to take flu shots, and now asking them to come back and get a second shot is just adding to it. And then lastly, and then I'll get to your question about the uptake, it requires ultra cold refrigeration, which is special capacity that only a few places have here in the metropolitan area. And so the distribution of it is challenging as well. But to your question about the uptake, I think you're absolutely right. It's going to be challenging to convince people to take the vaccine. Because it doesn't have a long track record. We don't know absolutely what the safety profile is. We know what it is during the phases, and it looks pretty good, but we don't have that long history with it. And so, of course, that causes a lot of concern, and I think rightfully so. Now, am I saying don't get the vaccine? No, I'm not saying that. As you guys probably know, I'm in the Moderna vaccine trial, and so I have gotten a shot. Don't know if it's vaccine or if it's placebo. But anyway, I'm in the trial. So with the vaccine is also one other really important point. It's going to be issued underneath an emergency use authorization, which doesn't mean it's fully licensed yet. So there's certain rules that you can use in order to get something out to the public in the time of an emergency, and this is one of them. And so all of that put together makes this a really difficult thing. People. I don't want people to think that just because you have a vaccine that looks good, it's, again, going to come right to the rescue, because it's not. We're not going to have a lot of doses. It's complex to deliver. It's complex to store. And we still got a ton of virus circulating around. So messaging things, being transparent, talking about safety profiles, but ultimately it's up to the person whether they want to accept it or not.
Right.
Doctor, would you like to see President Biden implement a mask mandate, a national mask mandate?
I would.
Do you think that would affect Missouri, therefore, presumably?
Well, presumably it would.
You'd feel free not to answer. The legislature, Mike Parson just called them to extend the current session. Is there anywhere in the state where a gathering of 163 people, half of them unmasked, would be consistent with health guidelines?
Well, I would say it's not consistent with mitigation strategies for COVID. I would say that. So I think your point is well taken. That you can mandate things, but getting people to follow a mandate is another question. However, I do believe that if you do have a mandate, you will have higher compliance. And so part of that is just because if you have that, then businesses will follow, other areas will follow. And so then it becomes much harder not to wear a mask, where now there's so much leeway into whether to wear a mask or not. It makes it difficult to say, well, let's leave it up to individual discretion. It makes it much easier to sort of get around that.
Along those same...
Yeah, go ahead, Charlie, sorry.
Well, I'm sorry, Doctor. We have less than a minute to go.
No.
But along those same lines, they say the biggest bar night of the year is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Do you think that the mayor and the county executive should shut down bars?
I think it's being actively discussed. Where they'll land, I don't know. I share your concern, though, about people going out and congregating the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And so what I've told other people before is, like, I get it. I was the same way when I came home from college. You want to go out and see your buddies, go hang out, have a few beers. There's nothing wrong with that. However, this is not a normal year. This is the year of a global pandemic where we're seeing tremendous loss of life. And I think if we can sacrifice one night of going out, it's worth it.
Dr. Alex Garza from the St. Louis Metropolitan Pandemic Task Force, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure, anytime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
I really do enjoy volunteering. I volunteer for a number of organizations that include